Well, hello, good morning, and welcome everyone to the AgYield War Room. As you already know, because I'm your favorite backup host and AgYield's marketing manager, I'm Jack Coakley. As always, feel free to join the discussion. Post a comment anywhere you see fit, and you can always shoot your comments, questions, concerns over to us at info@agyield.com. To get us started today, let's go to Brian with some overnight numbers.
All right, thanks, Jack. Good morning, everybody. July corn overnight down 2 1/4 at 436 1/4. July beans up a little bit, up 4 1/4 at 1046 1/2, and July Chicago wheat up 4 1/4 at 530 3/4. Stock market a little heavy overnight with the tension between Israel and Iran. Israel bombing Iran, so we'll see how that plays out as the day goes on. But a little bit of uneasiness in the market there.
Yeah, thanks for that, Brian. I literally just realized it's Friday the 13th, so. This is our extra spooky episode of the War Room. Welcome to that. I'll get some pumpkins or something queued up. Anyway, let's go. Let's talk a little bit about the markets. Justin, let's start with you, and then we can work around the room.
Yeah, obviously, with Israel bombing Iraq, you had markets on edge last night. So you had the Dow at one point was down over 700 points. Crude oil, was up close to $8. Our markets, kind of muted, considering we were talking about it before the show. If this was, even 5 years ago, we probably would have been sharply higher. Even the threat, we were going into, yesterday on the evening, with hints of that there would be an attack potentially, right? And usually, even just the thought of conflict in that region would have had crude oil up sharply before that even happened, right? So it's kind of interesting the way the markets are just so content with low volatility, the managed money being short a lot of these commodities. It's just kind of a new phase that we're going through. I don't fully understand it, but able to shrug off any kind of risk seems to be the mantra for now. I think eventually that is gonna really bite some of these managed money strategies that just to stay short no matter what. But right now they're getting away with it. I think our markets, at least, the weather's been too good, too neutral. I think we have just kind of a normal year right now. I think planting's normal, weather's normal, meaning that there's some really good areas, some not so good areas. And I think right now you kind of have to trade that. We just have, normal type yields. I think we're probably the market is leaning heavily towards really good yields. And that could certainly be the case. But again, like we've talked about in the show a lot, it's June 13th, the important weather, important timeframes, the next, 6 weeks. So we're just starting to enter where it actually matters. So I think with some of these conflicts going on, with the moves that we're having in these outside markets, I think I'd be pretty cautious here, as far as someone that want to just be overly short or have a really big position. I think it's just time for caution, personally.
Certainly, Ben. Let's shoot it over to you. Anything to add there?
Yeah, we were talking before we came on live today, and I thought Justin made a great point about how these markets trade now. There can be a complete apathy towards any sort of inputs uh, until there's an actual realization. And when you look at that and you frame that in context of how crude has been, it's still, even though the lows were struck around 55, 56 a barrel back when there was true fear about trade wars. Just within a couple of days ago, it was trading $63, $64 a barrel. And there's all this outside rumbling going on, and no one seemed to care. And, when I look at it and say no one seemed to care, you have a July contract with multiple thousands of strikes up above that still have open interest. So someone wasn't afraid to stay short those calls. I think that kind of played into some of the volatility last night. But it took the actual uh, bombing and the realization that it happened for someone to panic. And I think it's probably a combination of apathy, of managed money being automated, saying we're not going to exit until we have to, or until our numbers say we do. And it creates, these markets that are really tight, really not doing much. And then when they finally do, it becomes kind of hyper volatile. So, when you look at that in terms of grains, should we see a switch in weather? Could it be explosive? Well, I think we have a decent crop today, but those things could change and how severe it is. But I think ultimately, to have a really big market, you have to spook not only the managed money up, but you've got to spook the end user who's been hand to mouth for a long time here to want to get some broader coverage.
Yeah, just to put in context, crude oil is up 36% in 5 weeks. So it kind of got lulled to sleep, and then all of a sudden there's conflicts, and obviously last night was a big portion of that spike. But that's a pretty massive move, and same with if you look at silver, gold, the dollar, making year-long lows, and there's some really big macro stuff going on for our markets just to stay in this lull. I think it's a matter of time before something triggers it.
Well, and we've been trading big acres, optimal weather, good planning start. Like that's all factored in at this point. And you never know what's around the corner. Whether it be weather or something like this that jolts the could jolt the global economy. And no one waves the flag, I guess, before something happens that's big. But I don't see a lot of reason why managed money would want to press their shorts when everything has been perfect and they've yet to get a new low out for December corn.
Yeah. Well, even the cheap volatility in the options, no matter where you look, it's just zero respect for any kind of a chance of a big move, even, lower or higher. So,
and we talk about corn with that. I think soybeans are worse. The volatility is ridiculous how cheap it is.
Yep.
Yeah, considering you look at the balance sheet is sub 300 million bushels, right, at a yield that we've never seen before, with some demand rationing. Now, if the U.S. China are going towards, playing nicely together, I think beans are probably the one that could surprise a lot of people. Just my personal opinion.
Yeah, nearby, right? You had those stories about some of those big commercials dropping their bid 50, 60 cents in the nearby contract, due to negative crushing margins. I guess I get that. I think it's going to be interesting. We just had China have a record month in May as far as imports of soybeans. We're expected to have NOPA crush out today to be another record for the month. So demand seems pretty stout here, and we're focusing on. That's why I think the June 28th report's going to be really interesting for a lot of reasons. But see what those stocks are. We got to get that out of the way. We got to get acres. But all the reasons that you're, if you're selling corn because acres could go higher. I mean, what does that do to the bean balance sheet? What surprises could we see? On the acres number, or stocks number. I think a lot of interesting things are kind of coming to a head here, where you're going into first notice day, you're working through these July contracts, and then you have this major report at the end of the month. I think it could be a turning point. Maybe not for the good, but I think it's going to be a new fundamental dump, on the market that could turn the markets. It could be a really kind of set the stage for the summer.
Yeah. All good things there, guys. I promised a spooky episode, and the automatic light system is turning off.
Nice.
So there we go. That works out. Any other thing grain related before we shoot it over to Ryland for meat talk? Ryland, I believe the stage is yours. What do you got?
All right. Well, a little bit of cash trade picking up on the cattle side of things. Saw a little 234 to 235 trade in Texas. Would have been up about $5 from from last week. Saw 233 to 238 in Kansas, and 380 for Dresden in the north. So, I mean, it seems like, I mean, overall it was still up, but it does kind of feel a little bit disappointing. I think everybody's hoping that there would be another week and seeing 240 plus. But I got to say, just at this point, it just doesn't seem to be moving the needle. We're seeing futures momentum kind of slow down here. Obviously, the June month is still kind of gaining on everything else right now, just kind of trying to converge, I think, as much as possible as it can. But we are seeing the Packers still reduce those slaughters. Expectations that slaughter is going to be a little bit tighter here next week. So what does that do to cash? I think that's the big question mark right now. If they can actually see lower prices, we'll find out. But right now, beef prices are screaming. We're up new highs for the move and choice and select yesterday. So I think that trend likely to continue here, but I think that's what's really causing the slowdown here on the futures side, a little bit of caution going into August. So overall, we are seeing open interest starting to slip. So this is a couple days in a row now that we're starting to not see big increases in open interest, even with cash kind of performing the way it is. So a little bit of cautious kind of trade, I think, going into the weekend right now. And I mean, I wouldn't be surprised to see some covering here, a little bit of profit taking just because prices are still up from where they were. I mean, we haven't really broken anything that bad, but it's starting to put some of the lower areas of support, or at least closer areas of support, like 10-day, 20-day, just into perspective a little bit. So we'll see if that ends up coming to fruition. On the hog side of things, still new contract highs in some contract months in the deferred, but it does seem like a little bit of cash weakness overnight may put a little kibosh on this for the time being. Cash 105.95. That was down $1.38, but carcass is still up. So it still seems like there's some seasonal support here. I get why everybody wants to be long. Just kind of feels like we're still relatively tight. Producers are current based on the weight data from last week. So overall, there's still good news here. So wouldn't be surprised just to stay kind of in this uptrend for right now until something really changes on the carcass side.
Yeah, thanks for that, Ryland. We had a comment from our friends in Brazil of Bourbon Brown. Lean hogs will someday prices fall. Wow.
Yes, they will. When? That is the question. So, I mean, it seems like right now that, back, at least from my experience, it seems like when we really start to develop these premiums in August and further out, there's been a lot of talk about disease pressures, the lack of expansion. I'd be surprised if that kind of comes to fruition. The market's not baking that in right now, but obviously that $120 area is going to be that psychological kind of benchmark right now. So I think that's something to pay attention to. But yeah, it kind of feels like we're getting close here, but I'm not going to stick my neck out too far.
Certainly. Thank you for that. Well, as you're all aware, it is Friday, which means it's time for everyone's second favorite Fun Fact Friday host to come on here and give us their fun facts. So, Brian, the stage is yours.
Thanks, Jack. Happy Friday, everyone. It is Friday the 13th. I've already done those. It's also a full moon today. Already hit those up. So you know what? We'll just stick with the dads since it is their weekend. So happy Father's Day to all the dads out there. Father's Day became a national holiday in 1972 after Congress decided that needed a holiday for all the men who say, "Go ask your mother." The average gift given to dads is a grill gadget, and that 60% of men actually don't know what those things even do. The most common Father's Day card theme is dad jokes. Hallmark says they sell millions of cards that include fart, remote, or nap. So here are some epic fails by dads for Father's Day to keep it light. One suburban dad waged war on a squirrel that kept eating its bird feed. He tried putting ghost pepper flakes into the bird mix. No avail. He tried to motion-activated sprinkler. No avail. So he decided to create his own flamethrower using a lighter and WD-40.
Nice.
The squirrel came out unscathed, but his fence was burnt to a crisp. Another dad in California once tied 45 helium weather balloons to his lawn chair. He actually floated up about 10,000 feet in the air, and he was only armed with a pellet gun. So when he wanted to descend, he would shoot the balloons as he descended, and he ended up in power lines.
I remember this. I remember this story.
I mean, I've always wanted to try that. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, for sure. Somehow he came out. So he survived that episode. So
Thank goodness.
and lastly, I think all of us will probably be crossing our legs on this one. A dad tried to perform his own vasectomy after watching a YouTube video
Come on.
because he didn't want to pay the doctor. His wife found him in the garage with a bag of frozen peas in his lap, and he says, "I think I did it wrong." So, so I will leave you with a dad joke for Father's Day weekend. Why did the dad bring a ladder to the bar?
Why?
Because he heard the drinks were on the house.
Oh,
Oh, God.
Happy Father's Day,
Hey,
everybody.
so soybean oil is lock limit up currently.
Ooh.
Beans are up 19 cents. So got to figure out what, I don't know if some renewable fuel stuff came out, I'm guessing, but
okay.
it's a good start. We're
Good
locking it
news.
up
Yeah,
already.
that is good.
Finally.
We haven't done that in a while, so
We don't know what the news is, but we'll see.
yeah.
I'm sorry. I'm still floored on about drinks around the house. That's that is just awful. All right. Well, yeah, that's. I think that'll do it for today, guys. Thanks again for everyone who tunes in. If you like what we do here, if you like tuning in, give us a like and subscribe. Helps us out with the YouTube algorithms, gets the show to a wider audience, and certainly makes me look good as the marketing guy. So that helps. Again, appreciate everyone that tunes in on a daily basis. We're doing this every day the markets are open on X, Facebook Live, YouTube Live. We just started a TikTok page as well. You can follow us on there. We are going to get Dan to do choreographed dances on there if it's the last thing I do, I promise. So subscribe to us on TikTok. That link's in the description. So again, appreciate the thoughts and comments today, everyone. And we'll see you next week. Dan will be back, and have a great weekend. Happy Father's Day to all the fathers out there. And we'll talk to you very soon.
Yeah, thanks, Jay.
The War Room is proudly presented by AgYield. For over 50 years, the AgYield team has provided grain marketing and risk management solutions for growers across the country. Our veteran consultants harness cutting-edge technologies to pinpoint risk, optimize market performance, and protect your farm's profitability. Discover a new approach to farm revenue management at agyield.com.
Hey guys, Jack here. Be sure to support the show by hitting the like button, leaving us a comment, and subscribing to the channel for all the latest updates. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.